It has been a tumultuous 12 years since my world was shaken to its core. In retrospect, I can now see the profound changes that have occurred in my demeanor and outlook during this time. Memories flood back of a bygone era when my partner and I reveled in the harmonious bliss of a nearly flawless marriage. We were kindred spirits, having met during our college years and falling deeply in love. Before long, we sealed our commitment with the sacred bond of marriage. She was a vision of beauty and possessed an intellect that was truly astounding. As for me, I was a sports enthusiast, juggling my time playing football and baseball. Together, we traversed the landscape of life, engaging in social activities, pursuing our individual passions, and facing adversity as an unyielding front. However, life's challenges are inevitable, even for those united in love. We became pillars of support for one another during times of family tragedy and health scares. I fiercely battled my heart condition while she valiantly fought against cancer. Our partnership evolved into a masterpiece of compassion and strength. As our career soared, we built our dream home within a prestigious school district and indulged in a lake house retreat, creating countless cherished memories with our growing brood. Despite the hustle and bustle of our lives, we never lost sight of our love for one another. We were purposeful in nurturing our relationship, reaping the bountiful rewards of our unwavering dedication. Of course, no relationship is without its flaws, and our union was no exception. We occasionally encountered disagreements, but always approached them with a genuine sense of love and respect, eschewing anger and bitterness. We were a team in every sense of the word, and it brought us immeasurable joy and fulfillment. Reflecting on it now, I recognize that the bedrock of our happiness lay in the foundation of diligence, commitment, and unwavering devotion. I am certain that my wife would have wholeheartedly agreed. Ours was a love that grew stronger with each passing day. Our children, separated in age by 2 years, brought boundless radiance and profound joy into our lives. Their presence illuminated every crevice of our souls. We embraced the privilege of witnessing their growth and forming their own families, which only expanded our contentment. Our son displayed a natural athleticism akin to my own, honed through countless hours of coaching and mentoring, ultimately leading him to secure a baseball scholarship. Conversely, our daughter flourished as a member of the choir and a cheerleader. Despite her tender age, she possessed an uncanny maturity and grace, filling us with pride on a daily basis. As a father, my bond with my daughter was a treasure I cherished dearly. She was known far and wide as Daddy's girl. However, as she entered the treacherous terrain of her teenage years, our once inseparable relationship began to falter. She distanced herself from me, and no matter how hard I tried, I couldn't bridge the growing chasm between us. It was a period of profound pain and heartache, but I knew deep down that she still loved me. Thankfully, this arduous phase was not eternal. Over time, the wounds healed and our connection was rekindled. I will forever hold onto the immense pride I felt as she reached the pinnacle of her high school journey. Our bond was real, and I exhausted every resource within me to reignite the flame that once burned so brightly. I lavished her with adoration and attention, and we embarked on countless new adventures as a team. I even undertook physical transformations in an attempt to recapture her effervescent love. But alas, it felt like chasing elusive smoke. The more I pursued, the further the solution seemed from my grasp. My wife, inexplicably, grew ever more distant, and a sense of foreboding engulfed me. When she broached the subject of divorce, my world shattered into a million fragments. How could this be happening? How did we go so astray? The shock and confusion were overwhelming, not just for me, but for our children as well. The pain and bewilderment were palpable in every word I uttered. Losing someone of such immense importance, someone so intricately woven into the fabric of my existence, was a torment I wouldn't wish upon anyone. The fear of the unknown, the uncertainty of our marital fate, infused every sentence with trepidation. One night, in a desperate attempt to salvage what remained, I sat down with my wife and implored her to reveal the truth. Was everything truly okay? Initially, she dismissed my concerns, attributing her weariness to work and insisting that there was nothing amiss. However, my intimate knowledge of her innermost being told me otherwise, and so I persisted. Finally, she broke down, baring her soul and confessing that she felt an ever-widening chasm between us. The once unbreakable bond that defined our love appeared frayed and fragile, I was stunned, wounded to my very core. I beseeched her for guidance, craving a remedy to heal the rift that threatened to engulf us. Regrettably, she had no answers, only an instinctive knowledge that change was imperative. In the weeks that followed, I poured every ounce of my being into resurrecting the embers of our dwindling relationship. I orchestrated romantic escapades, surprised her with tender gestures, and made a conscious effort to truly listen when she spoke. Gradually, my wife started to respond to my efforts, and we began to find joy in each other's company once again. We shared laughter, dreams, and tackled our problems as a united team. Nothing seemed to be working when I tried everything in my power to salvage our relationship. Desperation filled my voice, and my heart shattered with every passing moment. I knew I had to take action, but I felt powerless to stop the inevitable. The emotional distance between us became strikingly clear as I couldn't even bring myself to ask if she still loved me. It wasn't until a coffee meeting with her best friend that the realization of someone else causing our separation hit me, and even then, I clung to denial. The symptoms of loss of appetite, insomnia, and constant tears portrayed a man witnessing his world crumble, helpless to prevent it. I felt as though I was drowning in despair without a way out. The image of me lying on the floor, gazing at the ceiling for hours, with my faithful dog's head on my chest, was both heartbreaking and heartwarming. It served as a reminder that even in the darkest moments, someone or something could offer solace and comfort. My beloved pet sensed my pain and provided a sense of peace and support. It was evident that I deeply loved my wife and would have done anything to save our marriage. Feeling helpless and out of control only testified to the depth of my care. The unfolding of my story became a tragic tale of lost love, a fractured marriage, and a man left to navigate the shattered pieces of his heart. As I recounted my experiences, I couldn't help but feel empathy and compassion for myself and the pain and loss I endured. The loss of my beloved wife felt like an unending wave of torment crashing over me. Each day became a struggle to face without her by my side, making the love, time, and effort we once shared seem futile. Despite my best efforts, I couldn't reconnect with her or mend our bond. Divorce, in bitter and inevitable reality, was something I was hesitant to confront. The prospect of losing her completely, even as a friend, was devastating. Feeling inadequate as a spouse, unable to meet her needs and incapable of preserving our marriage. The pain persisted. Yet, amidst the pain, we remained amicable and respectful, resolved to avoid causing each other further hurt. Dividing our possessions became a bittersweet experience. Together, we had worked diligently to build a life we both took pride in, and now it was being dismantled and sold. The memories we made in those two homes would forever be a part of me, but the thought of returning to them without her was unbearable. The finality of signing the divorce papers was gut-wrenching. I could see the tears in her eyes, and I knew she was hurting just as much as I was. It felt like a final farewell, as if a piece of my heart was being torn away. The pain of losing a long-term partner is enduring, leaving a scar that time may dull but never erase. Amidst the hurt and heartbreak, I hold on to the cherished moments we shared and the love we once had for each other, finding some solace. Witnessing my daughter grow up and get married is a bittersweet reality that no parent can escape. As I sat there, surrounded by the people I love, a sense of melancholy crept over me. My daughter, my little girl, was embarking on a new chapter in her life by getting married. While it was a joyous occasion, there was also a deep sadness in my heart. Then, something magical happened. My daughter took a seat beside me, resting her head on my shoulder, and we engaged in conversation, laughter, and reminiscing about old times. It was a beautiful moment, one that I knew I would cherish forever. As we sipped our scotch and gazed into the flickering flames of the fireplace, a profound sense of gratitude washed over me. I felt thankful for my daughter and her fiancé, for my family and friends, and for the love surrounding me. Despite ongoing healing from my divorce, I recognized the need to keep moving forward and find happiness wherever I could. But in that moment, surrounded by the warmth of the fire and the love of my family, I felt content. I knew that everything was going to be alright, and that no matter what challenges lay ahead, I would always have the support and love of those closest to me. Towards the end of our conversation, my daughter and I delved into more serious topics, and she brought up the topic of the divorce. It was something we had only briefly discussed before, focusing mainly on logistics. However, this time we explored the emotional aspects of it. I took a risk and asked my daughter, now a grown woman, what it was genuinely like to live with me and admitted that I knew I wasn't a perfect parent. To my surprise, she opened up and shared that at times I could be intense and had high expectations. She admitted that they all feared disappointing me, but she also added that she knew I loved and protected them and would always be there. In fact, she even chuckled as she shared that they used to lovingly refer to me as Sergeant Dad, or the Sergeant. I acknowledged that I wasn't always the most emotionally expressive person, but assured her that I deeply cared for them, even if I didn't always show it outright. It was then that she revealed something that left me speechless. She hoped her new husband would be as wonderful a spouse and father as I am and wished that I could find someone who made me happy, unlike Mom who cheated. That's when it hit me. My daughter believed that I had known about my wife's infidelity all along. She disclosed that she had been aware of my ex-wife's affair before our divorce and assumed that I had been aware too. I couldn't believe it and asked her why she hadn't told me before. She explained that she presumed I knew more than she did, which was why I had divorced her mom. She also shared that it had been an incredibly challenging time for her and she deliberately avoided the topic with me. Apart from ensuring that I was okay, I held her tightly and expressed my gratitude for standing by me through everything. She would always be my little girl. I asked her when it had happened and how long it had been going on. She wasn't certain, but she guessed that it started about a month before Mom first mentioned divorce. I also inquired if her brother knew, and she confirmed that he did. In fact, he was the one who did some digging on social media and suspected that there might be someone else. I was amazed at how perceptive my children were. It all started to make sense why my kids had been distant towards their mom and supportive towards me during this whole ordeal. I held my daughter tightly, grateful for her honesty and love. She was the only thing that made sense in my life at that moment. As I held her close, I realized that I needed to be strong for her and for my son. They were the only reasons I had left to keep going. The betrayal from my ex-wife had brought about profound changes. It altered how I viewed her, myself, and the world. It felt as though a part of me had died, leaving me without a clue about how to move forward. All I knew was that I had to persist, to continue moving forward, even if it meant taking just one step at a time. The night her affair was exposed marked a turning point. Until then, I had strived for civility during our divorce proceedings, but now uncertainty clouded my every action. My mind raced, robbing me of sleep that night. Reflecting back, I noticed my ex-wife's renewed self-care. The more frequent visits to the hair and nail salons, the purchase of nicer clothes, and the extra time she devoted to her makeup. Initially, I had assumed it was an effort to keep up with younger colleagues at work, only now realizing that it likely signaled her preparations for the affair. The truth finally came to light. My ex-wife had already found someone else, another man. The rejection was already painful, but this betrayal cut me to the core, shattering my world once again. My daughter showed me the other man's Facebook page and other online sites. I discovered that he was an executive at one of my ex's major accounts, though his posts didn't mention her by name. They strongly suggested an infatuation with someone who sounded exactly like her, despite my daughter's comment about him not being as attractive as me. Seeing my ex-wife with someone else hurt, I immediately cut off all communication with her, ignoring her texts and calls, even avoiding contact with her friends. The fact that her best friend never reached out made me wonder if she had been aware of the affair all along. But one night, overwhelmed with anger and pain, I broke into my ex-wife's house. Determined to destroy everything in sight, I smashed her belongings, poured bleach on her clothes, and defaced her family photos. I wanted her to feel the pain and betrayal that I had experienced upon discovering her infidelity. In the midst of my destructive rampage, my ex-wife suddenly appeared, expecting outrage and the authorities to be called. I was taken aback when she looked at me with a mixture of sadness and pity. Her response shocked me. Anticipating anger and bitterness, she instead showed compassion and understanding. She asked for my forgiveness, confessing that she had cheated on me and was too ashamed to admit it during the divorce. In that moment, my anger dissipated. I realized that my ex-wife had been suffering as well, and my actions had only caused her more pain. A week later, my daughter got married, and both my ex and I attended. Despite feeling angry and hurt, I tried to focus on my daughter's special day. Even though I had lost over 20 pounds due to stress and increased workouts, I felt good in my tailored tuxedo as I walked her down the aisle. During the ceremony, my ex-wife looked stunning, wearing everything she knew I liked. Despite this, I remained silent. Still angry about her deceit, I pulled away when she attempted to hold my hand during the vows. I also made sure that our thighs and shoulders didn't touch. During the photo shoot, I focused on joking around with my daughter and everyone else, deliberately not engaging with my ex. When we arrived at the reception, I was relieved to find that our seats had been arranged in advance, so I chose to sit next to my daughter. My ex was seated a few chairs away, which I knew must have been challenging for her. At that point, she had no idea that I was aware of her affair. During my heartfelt father of the bride speech, I made no mention of my ex, as if she had no part in raising our daughter. Even though she was in tears, I purposefully avoided looking in her direction during the father-bride dance. I even chose to skip the dance altogether, despite the fact that we were supposed to dance with both sets of parents. The rest of the evening was spent joyfully with my daughter, son, and new son-in-law, successfully avoiding any interactions with my ex. I cannot confirm how long she stayed as I did not witness her departure, but every time I saw her, she seemed melancholic. Although it was a challenging experience, I learned a great deal about myself and my ability to navigate difficult situations. While it may not have been my proudest moment, I believe I did what was necessary to protect my emotional well-being. It was a hard pill to swallow when, after more than 28 years together, she chose someone else during a difficult period in my life. However, I have come a long way since then. As my counselor predicted, I had to adapt to living alone and rediscover my purpose. Despite the initial difficulty, I can honestly say that the pain has diminished. Instead, I devoted myself to creating a space that truly reflects my personality. I turned my house into a dream sanctuary, complete with a third bay in the garage for my Harley Softail and ATV. Riding has always been a passion of mine, but my ex had prohibited me from having a motorcycle. Now, I relish the freedom to ride whenever I please. I upgraded my kitchen and living areas with the latest amenities. However, my favorite part remains the basement man cave. It boasts a state-of-the-art sound system, video facilities, a wet bar, and a high-quality gym, providing everything I need to unwind. Sitting in my recliner, enjoying classical or old rock music at a volume my ex never allowed, brings me true pleasure. My house has become the go-to spot for game days, where friends and family gather to watch multiple games simultaneously, much like a sports bar. I even set up a playroom for my grandkids, complete with a TV and toys. I cherish the moments spent with my grandkids and their parents when they come to visit regularly. Just last week, we had a delightful pumpkin carving party, an event my ex would have enjoyed. I am contemplating getting another dog for companionship, especially with the grandkids around. Additionally, I installed a remote wood-burning furnace with a heat exchanger that efficiently heats my home, mostly using my own timber. Not only is it cost-effective, but it also keeps me active during the colder months. In conclusion, despite the painful past, I am grateful for the opportunity to rebuild my life and create a home that I adore. I have discovered new passions, enjoyed quality time with loved ones, and created unforgettable memories. It has been 12 years since my ex-wife left me for another man, and I have come to accept that she chose him over our 28 years together. Although it was initially painful, as my counselor predicted, I have learned to live alone and redefine the purpose of my life. I transformed my house into a dream sanctuary, with an additional garage bay for my new Harley Softail and ATV. I upgraded the kitchen and living areas with modern amenities, and the basement has become my retreat, a man cave equipped with top-notch entertainment, a wet bar, and a gym. I also specifically created a playroom for my grandkids, furnished with a television and toys. Hosting events like our recent pumpkin carving party has become a source of joy, and I am even considering getting another dog for companionship. As for my romantic life, I have discovered the enjoyment of being single and re-entering the dating scene. Initially, my friends' partners tried to set me up with other women, but I resisted. However, almost 2 years later, I finally agreed to a double date, pushed by my kids. It was awkward at first, but now I have ongoing relationships with several exceptional women. Dating in my 50s and early 60s differs from my youth. There are numerous intelligent, attractive, unattached women, both my age and younger. who seek the attention of a relatively healthy man. You don't need to be a superstar. Being respectful, attentive, confident, and, most importantly, fun is crucial. I am completely honest about not desiring a wife or an exclusive relationship. I exercise caution and am highly selective, avoiding married women and seeking only meaningful connections. I must genuinely like her, have fun, enjoy her company, and feel a mutual reciprocation. Before developing deeper feelings, I take them to concerts, ball games, camping trips, backyard cookouts, dinner theaters, and engage in various other activities. It took time for me to adjust to the idea of non-exclusivity and overcome feelings of jealousy and possessiveness. I realized that I can't control my partner, and that's perfectly alright. I enjoy dating without the pressure of exclusivity, as it is refreshing for both myself and my lady friends. If a deeper connection happens naturally, that's great, but I never pressure or manipulate them into it. I have a few longtime lady friends with whom I've never been close, and that's also okay. Overall, I am living my best life and am grateful for the experiences and people in it. Being a private pilot for many years, I truly relish flying my own small experimental amateur-built plane. However, unfortunately, my wife never shared my passion for it. To address this, I started inviting each of my lady friends to fly-ins and short trips. I even take them on breakfast or lunch trips on my Harley, which is a popular outing known as the $1 100 hamburger. Each of these special women has her own passions, and I make an effort to share in those as well. I've climbed Mount Baker after months of training, earned my PADI open water dive certificate, and even gone skydiving in tandem with them. Surprisingly, I found enjoyment in attending the opera with one of these friends. However, one of my most memorable experiences involved crashing wedding parties at city parks. I would mingle with the guests, enjoy their offerings, and contribute to collections by throwing in $100. Although I spend a lot of time with these women, more often than not, I find myself at home alone or cuddling with one while watching Netflix or listening to her favorite music. These women push me to do things I would have never done on my own. I still struggle with the desire for exclusivity, especially with the wedding crasher who seems to have it all. But I know I cannot allow myself to think that way. Right before the outbreak of COVID-19, I went on a 7-day cruise with 3 attractive women. I had only dated and been close with one of them before the trip, but all 3 were fun and flirty. We laughed, had the best time going on day excursions, and danced and partied on the ship every night. It was probably the best vacation of my life, except for some memorable trips with our preteen kids. At the end of the cruise, a representative from the cruise line approached me and asked if I would be interested in going on future cruises at unbelievable discounts. Apparently, they needed more older single men to dance and interact with all the single ladies and widows. While it was flattering, I couldn't help but feel like a gigolo. Despite living my best life, I acknowledge that my ex-wife may not be as fortunate. I heard that her relationship with the other man lasted for about 3 years. However, I haven't delved into the specifics or inquired if they live together because it's no longer my concern. I started responding to her texts and emails around 5 years ago to accommodate my kids, but our communication mostly revolves around sharing information and pictures about the kids and grandkids. She occasionally expresses a desire to discuss the divorce and the affair, answering any questions I may have. However, I lack the inclination to delve into those details as I see no benefit, so I simply disregard those particular emails. We've encountered each other at weddings and funerals, exchanging polite greetings. The last in-person conversation occurred at our newest grandson's christening. She still looked attractive but older, as we all do. We spent over 2 hours discussing the grandkids and reminiscing about fond memories. Although I occasionally mourn the loss of my marriage, these truly are the golden years. The duration of this phase remains uncertain, but my ex-wife and I have recently committed to supporting each other as we age. She is the mother of my children and the grandmother of my grandchildren, and we were married for 28 years. We've even signed HIPAA and medical directive forms for each other. While we are no longer a couple, my daughter has observed that I am more content and easygoing than before, which I attribute to my retirement last year. The liberation from job pressures and office politics has significantly impacted my daily attitude. These truly are the golden years, and I am grateful for this newfound freedom. Occasionally, I still lament the end of my marriage, especially when confronted with old photos or places that bring back memories of our shared past. Recently, my ex-wife has invited me to dinner at her condo or on a date, which my daughter has brought up several times. Interestingly, my ex isn't involved with anyone and hasn't been for years, which raises questions about the purpose behind their sudden interest in my social life. While I am intrigued, I approach the situation cautiously. I am uncertain if there's a collective effort against me, but I trust my daughter's intentions, knowing she would never allow me to be hurt again. In any case, I am content with my current life, whether I am single or in a relationship. I cherish my married life with my wife and now appreciate the freedom of my single life. Whatever unfolds, life continues, and I am assured that I will not be alone in my old age, regardless of whether I reunite with my ex.